today we are checking out HAILEY, who just got a pretty nice rebalance with some solid buff. It's been a while since we used this Descendant. Last time arcade tuning wasn't even in the game and we pretty much only messed around with her for bossing. We know some of you have some sort of build for the VP with the Albion Cavalry Gang, but honestly we never really cared about making HAILEY a mover. With the new rebalance though, we wanted to see how much better she feels now because we never really liked how slow and stuck in place she was when using her skills.
You kind of mentioned it already, but when HAILEY first came out, she could be really, really good. She could one-shot things and, take them out in like seconds. We're talking about like less than 10 seconds. So she was very, very good. But I was never a big fan of her second skill and her fourth skill because, well, you can change the fourth skill, but the default fourth skill was she pulled out the sniper. It was like an actual firearm, and you could not move with that. You were like stuck in place, and I never was a big fan of being stuck in place. It just sucked because then you just tank all this damage, and I've seen other players have that problem where we'll play in a public lobby and they would take a bunch of damage and go down. You do a lot of damage, but I was never a big fan of that. I also wasn't the biggest fan of the way her third skill works with how she has to freeze herself and increase her crits, but she was really slow, really, really slow. And then I think you were mentioning it, I think if you like were to roll, you would lose stacks of that, I think. So she was good. I never didn't think she was the worst thing in the world. I just I don't know, it wasn't my favorite way to play.
The idea with this build is pretty simple. We wanted to just boost her crits and make those crits hit as hard as possible.
So with the build we have, it's pretty standard. There's been a couple really good builds for HAILEY going around online. Ours is a little bit different, but it's basically the same. We have the critical hit rate cards. We have and critical hit damage. So skill insight, skill concentration, emergency measures, front lines. I know some people are not using skill insight in favor of glacial synctium, I think is what it is. I'm not sure. And that's a good card. We could talk about this a little bit later. You probably don't need that skill insight. You probably don't. I know a lot of people aren't using it, and we'll go over it, like I said, later, but we're using it currently, and yeah, nimble fingers, MP conversion, just some of your standard stuff. Nothing too crazy.
And we're also using her Descendant Cold Heart, and we have been switching between Power Beyond Trigger Module and Cyclic Amplifier. During the gameplay you're seeing in the background, we tested her against Lava Citadel. First, we had to shoot the Colossus weak spot to trigger the Frost Watcher unique ability, and then follow up with her first skill and her second skill. And two things happened. Either you got a massive crit or a Y number. And that is the main reason we barely use this Descendant.
Okay, so with HAILEY here, and she got a slew of changes, and she's a lot better in my opinion. Better to play, more fun to play. She's really strong. She's always been strong, but specifically kind of trying to focus here about fighting Lava Citadel and not having anything to do with any of her other changes really. So the Frost Watcher, I know people were using it before, and it's not like we sat here and figured this out. This has been all online and shared across the internet already. So basically we're just using the Frost Watcher to get cold surveillance. That's what we want. You can get 3 stacks of it. You want that. It's lowering the chill resistance. So we want that activated, and then you hit them with your first skill, and then we're using the second skill. All while you're obviously in your third skill. We just stay in our third skill because she just stays frosted. She just stays frozen. You have the MP dog. She's fast. There's really no negative to that anymore. So you stay really high in the critical hit rate and do everything that I just kind of talked about. But she's really good. She's really good, and when she gets those crits, it's incredible, and you can just take him out super fast. And we took him out relatively quick for us because we've never been super fast at taking down Colossus, but that was even with not getting those big, huge crits every single time. But there was other times, and maybe you see it, where every hit was a small, little, tiny piece of his health or his shield, and that is so incredibly frustrating. And maybe some people have a way to make it crit every single time where you're getting those huge numbers, but we just have never really been able to figure that out. It's always been this way with her since the beginning. Even after the rework, while she's really good, she can be really frustrating for us because she still doesn't get that. And we're sitting at like 100% critical hit rate. So unless that doesn't apply to her skills using the sniper, I don't really know what else to do. And we're hitting the weak spot. She's really good. I'm not saying she's not good. It's just frustrating.
Since she's so fast when her third skill is active, especially with the swords equipped, we wanted to see how good of a mover she could actually be. And honestly, I think she totally passed the test, right, mister?
Yeah, she's really good. I know I sound like I'm complaining about her, but I'm just complaining that I have these inconsistencies with being able to hit the really big numbers, and that could be very much a me problem. It very could be a me problem. But as a mobber, she's really good. She's so much better now. I mean, basically, and we already kind of talked about it, when she's in her third skill, she is fast. She's really, really fast. And she doesn't really use that really any MP. I'm always at full MP for the most part. I'm using the fellow that gives you MP back, but I don't have problem with it. She's not slowed down. I don't think you're losing stacks if you do roll. I don't really roll because of how fast she is. And then if you have that activated and you're using the sword, she's ridiculously fast. She's like almost bunny speed fast, and I'm pretty sure they had to do something about that because
Yeah.
she wasn't meant to be that fast, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they lower the total speed you get with the swords equipped because specifically HAILEY was getting to the point that she was ridiculously fast.
I mean, Bunny hits 1600, which is max. It says max, and HAILEY, when she's using her third skill and has the sword, she was hitting like 1400, even now. So I'm assuming before they lowered that, I don't know if she was the same or if she was actually faster. Because it's fast enough that that skill still has to like warm up, you know what I mean? Like you activate it, but you're not getting the full maximum critical hit rate right away. It takes a little bit of time. She's fast enough that a lot of times I don't even get in the hover bite, because when you get the hover bite, you lose it and you have to start all over again. So it's convenient. She's more practical to play, but it's I'm not complaining about it, but it sucks for Bunny or Bunny players, I guess, because HAILEY for a little bit there was too fast, and now she's almost as fast when she before couldn't move really whatsoever in that skill.
Yeah, we even did some testing that you probably are seeing here in the background where Mr. gave me like a head start of like 1, 2, 3 seconds, and one of the times you couldn't catch me. I was actually a tiny bit faster for a while, to the point that even with your speed of Bunny, you couldn't catch me if you give me some head start.
No, I couldn't, and I don't think they need to change that. I mean, she's really fast now, maybe too fast. If they want to, fine. If they don't want to, fine. I think what they should do for Bunny, if they really wanted to balance that speed out, because there's a lot of Descendants that can be really fast now, I think they would have to have her consume a lot less. Like, let her stay in that longer. Let her stay in her speed longer before she runs out. I think that would be a good fix. Not necessarily make her faster, just, whatever. But yeah, she's crazy fast now.
And going back to the Supermassive dungeon, that is still even after the readjustment of the difficulties, I still think those enemies are probably one of the worst ones after the action planes. I think a good combo that we were doing, because we struggled a bit with the boss at the end if we both are using Harris. Specifically the second phase, something that was working really good is I was using HAILEY with the mowing build and Mr. was using Harris, and we were getting through the dungeon really quickly because both characters are really good for moving. And at the end, I think I was doing a tiny bit better than Mr. just because HAILEY is still a better option for killing commanders and bosses in general.
I think another thing that helped with that for sure was that with Harris, I like using the sword. I know some people were telling me that you're missing out on a lot without using the weapon. I don't care. That's how I want to play it. I'm going to play it that way. And so I like the sword with Harris, and then I can just sit there and swing, and he really focuses on me. Yes, he has that attack that pushes those rings out and stuff, which you have to deal with a little bit, but he really focuses on me, and a lot of the ads that he spawns would kind of come towards me too, and with Harris, you don't really care. So it was a really good combo.
To wrap up this video, we wanted to go over how this game adjusts the difficulty depending how many players are in the party. By far, feels like the easiest way to play this game will be solo, because enemies are much weaker. But then there is a little scaling depending how many players you have, depending if you have 2, 3, or a full party of 4. Right, mister?
Yes, I we kind of crunched some numbers, and the one thing I was just, because I'm in the game and I'm looking at it, the one thing we didn't do was the shield. We only really cared about the HP. That's not even counting the increase in shield that he gets too, but as a solo player, I'm not saying that a solo player isn't better than me. Of course, most solo players are going to be way better than me because they crunch the numbers and optimize their builds for every little 1% of damage, but they have the least amount of health and the least amount of shield. I'm going to say generally speaking, but I think it's always. The increase from 1 to 2 participants is the second biggest increase you can have. The biggest increase is from 3 to 4, actually. As far as health goes, maybe shield's different because, like I said, we didn't really go over the shield. But the biggest increase in health, at least for Lava Citadel, is from 3 participants to 4. The second biggest is from 1 to 2, and they're very, very similar. They're very close. I'm not saying that 3 to 4 is way bigger of a jump in health, but they're very, very close. The smallest gap is from 2 to 3 as far as health goes. So I guess if you wanted to be most optimal, you maybe would play as a trio. So that affects us a little bit, but I mean, I'm not saying that you can't take them out really fast because there's leaderboards with people in duos that are using like Luna and Kyle. You've seen the Kyle thing, that are taking them out in like less than 10 seconds. So again, it's an us issue, but it definitely is a little bit harder, I think. And so if we don't get those big hits, which we struggle with, we have very little health. We have no HP module. We only have them on the components. Since we're using, what are we using? I think we're using the Slayer set.
Slayer set, the
same. Slayer set.
Yeah.
Yeah, since we're using the Slayer set, we have very little HP. And if we don't take him out quick, it's just super hard to stay alive.
Some of you guys were asking us to try HAILEY out, and we did. We are happy with her. She's in a good place. Let us know how you feel about HAILEY, and thank you so much for watching.